All right. Hey, we're going to talk about something that people do a bad job at. We want to help.
Yes. We want to help you
Protect
when it comes
your marriage.
Yeah, protect your marriage. But when it comes to in-laws.
Who you let into your marriage.
And
really.
who you let into your marriage.
Who you let speak into your marriage.
Yes.
Who you confide in about your marriage. Super important.
No, these are huge.
People make big mistakes with this.
Yes.
And like lasting mistakes. Mm-hmm. So we'll just talk about it in those layers, right? So Matthew chapter 19 verse 5 says that a man will leave his mother and father and cleave, or which is weird, that's King James version, but will attach
cleave to his wife.
Yeah, cleave to his wife. I don't even know what that means, dude. Am I supposed to like cut her or something? That's weird. Cleave. All I think about is like a meat cleaver. It's like strange.
Yeah. But
join to his wife and they create their own family. Now, here's the issue is what most people do is they let the wrong people into or speak into or confide into or complain to about their spouse.
Right.
So if you are complaining to your mom about your wife or your husband, guess what? They're always going to take your side. Well, they're mostly going to take your side.
Right.
And they are going to take on the offense, the anger, the agitation. Mm-hmm. And this is probably anybody in your family.
Yeah.
And now
sister, brother.
Yeah. Now the issue that's been created is the whole family is against you.
Yeah.
And not only that, but on top of it, you will probably forgive them of this situation. Right. You will move past this situation, but now they are stuck with that information and have a much harder time with the forgiveness, with the moving forward, with the health of the relationship. And it's damaging long term. It's like, I know people where it's like they had infidelity in their marriage. The whole family got brought into it. They worked through it, which was incredible. But like the family still holds it against them. And it's crazy because they're good, but the family's not.
Still gotta, I don't like them.
Yeah, and it's like, man, like it's just unhealthy. Or you got the mom still like being the mother to the son. And it's like, like, dude, get out of the marriage. You are going to ruin this marriage by being so involved in the marriage. And it doesn't mean you can't still have a mom, but it means like she's not like your wife. She's your mother in a different context.
My mom asked me to do this, and so I'm going to... No, your first commitment
is
in
your
marriage
spouse.
Is your spouse, period. They come before mama. They come before daddy. They come before the kids. They come before your best friend.
Hey, you form a family.
They are your number one.
You form a family.
Yes.
And you have to just protect who and how they speak into your marriage. And they could mean well. Yeah. But have terrible advice. Or they could mean well and now they can't forgive. Or they can mean well but now be like the decision maker low key in the marriage. It's like, that's not good. That's not healthy. Right. Are they there at times to give advice? Sure, but it has to be wise and guarded and protected and with a grain of salt because you still have to make the decision. And they can't handle everything.
They can't.
That is about your spouse, and they shouldn't know some of those things because again, they might not forgive them, although you did. Right. And now it's this crazy, weird, terrible family dynamic, and you just let people in that didn't need to be in. I think the other one is like, dude, don't let people speak into your marriage that have a bad marriage.
Oh my gosh, please.
It's like taking health advice from someone who's not healthy.
Person's 900 pounds and you're out here getting advice from them how to get in shape.
Yeah, like look, I love the 600-pound life. Those sisters are hilarious.
They are hilarious.
But I'm not going to take like eating advice from either of them.
Right. Right.
Actually, I will. I'll do the opposite of how they do it. And I'll be okay. But people do this with their marriage.
Yeah, any time, or you know, I see a lot of like.
It's like the funniest show.
It's like you'll see people who maybe don't have a good marriage, or just even people who have been married multiple times. Like red flag. Hello. There's a reason why they're on their, third, fourth marriage. You probably shouldn't be taking marriage advice from them.
Yeah, they're not good at it. It's like,
clearly they're not good at it. Well, they said, well, no, if they would have done all these things, they could have not been on even the second marriage. Like, just, you have to be wise in who you go get your marriage advice from.
Really, just life advice.
Life advice.
And I would say too, like, if you're a Christian, you know who I don't want speaking into my marriage? Unsaved people.
Like, they have just such a different view.
Like, I want someone who is saved, has a great marriage, got a great track record.
Yeah.
They got good kids. Like, I want to find some older couple who's done great with marriage, and I want to lean into that.
Yeah.
I want to ask them questions.
Absolutely.
I want to involve them. I want their advice.
Yeah.
So I would say, like, you need to guard your marriage against your parents, in a sense.
Yeah.
You need to guard your marriage against unbelievers. Mm-hmm. You need to guard your marriage against people who have bad advice.
Yes.
Who just have never had a good marriage or have never been married. Well, they've been married for like 3 weeks and now they're like but this is how we did it. It's like,
Isn't it always the first? It's like people who have like, you got
a week under your belt, dude.
And they're like giving all the marriage, kids parenting advice.
Yeah, like,
oh, no, you need to do this, and it's like, you've been a freaking mom for 3 hours.
Yeah, you had a 2-year-old, now you have a 3-year-old. You're not an expert on 2-year-olds.
Yeah, like
you're an expert when they're 20,
right?
And they turned out well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
the same.
Again, though, that's not to discredit. Like, hey, here's what I did to help them sleep at night. But it's like, you're not a certified expert.
Not going in saying, no, this is tried and true, and you need to do this. So, like, it's just wisdom. You want to glean and learn and get advice or wisdom from, number one, godly.
Yeah.
And two, people who are successful in it.
Yeah. I'm also...
Well, they're successful. Yeah, it's their 5th marriage. Yeah. I pray that they're successful.
I'm also not going to ask advice in my marriage from someone of like the opposite gender, because and we said this before, people got mad and they were like, I care less, be mad, get over it, shut up, I'll send you the address. I'm just playing. But it's, people get weird about it, but it's like, you literally create an emotional connection with this person, and then they give you answers on how they should have done it, and it's like, well, now they're like kind of stepping into like the Cinderella role almost, where it's like, oh, the shoe fits on them because they would have done it right. And they have good advice, and it's like,
weird.
You've created this like emotional connection with them, but Scripture says that you come together with your wife, not another woman, and it's like you just have to guard yourself emotionally when you're conversing about or getting advice about, and obviously you can't get advice about a woman from a man all the time. So like, okay, who do you go to if you need, hey, how do I talk to my wife about this? Find some mature lady in the church who's like got a bunch of years under her belt and a good marriage, and like, just ask her, like with her husband right there, like, hey, how do I deal with this? And then let them speak to it, and let him explain some things that he's seen and he's thought and he's that, and then let her give some clarity on the situation too. You don't need to like go to some girl that's the same age.
I know, girl, you wouldn't believe it. And then it turns into like this huge gossip fest of you dogging your husband or your spouse
and
about.
Then the group chat blows up.
Then now you're okay. Let's meet next week, and now it's just we're just gonna down our husband's pity party. That's disgusting, and shouldn't be a part of anybody's life. Period.
There it is.
So
but you got to guard your marriage.
I think it's important though, like, because I do understand that for some people this is very difficult, especially if you are really close with your parent. You know, if you're very close, your mom, and she's someone that you were really close with and talked to everything about or whatever, this can be hard. But I think, I don't think it has to be something that's even communicated to them. Well, I can't talk to you anymore about these things because, it'll cause problems. Like, don't do that. Like, you don't have to communicate to them that they're no longer, who you're going to communicate with or talk to.
Yeah, that's silly.
But you can just determine in your heart, like, okay, when it comes to my spouse and negative things or things that we're working on, I will not bring this up to my mother.
Or or my father,
or my father,
or the family gossip,
or just anyone in the family,
don't share stuff with a gossip, guys.
Yeah, honestly. But it's really important that you understand just the importance of not doing that. Like, you just don't talk about your marital problems to your mom. But I think
it's unfair to them too.
It is unfair to them because
now they are painted with a picture.
Yeah.
That's one-sided.
Yeah, because they didn't hear it. They don't normally hear from the other side, You might have had a really bad attitude and you left that part out, and now you've demonized your spouse.
Yeah, you should have just...
when you were probably the one who caused the issue.
You should have just had sex instead, but now your mom's involved. That's weird.
But I also think, let's talk about, the whole mama's boy, daddy's girl thing.
Yeah, that's weird.
Once you're married, I don't think there's anything wrong with having close relationships with your parents. I think that's awesome. I think it's great. Parents are, can be great. But if you want added strife in your marriage, just follow mommy around.
Add a third party to the marriage.
Add mommy around and everything she says. It really makes you kind of a lesser of a man in your wife's eyes.
Probably.
No, I know it does. That is like one thing. Just like on the flip though, if your dad is, constantly telling you things, well, your husband needs to do this, and you can't just say, okay, Dad, I'll tell him, because now it's making, you have this weird thing between your husband and your dad, and it's like putting your husband down. You don't do that either.
No, it's not good.
You stick up and you defend your husband, and you just build him up, and especially to your dad. Or sons, tell your mom, no, I'm doing this for my wife.
So, all right, who do you include? Simply, I think you need a couple different relationships. You need a pastor.
Yes.
I think that's important. Have a pastor who can speak into it.
Yep.
Have mature, older couples with more experience than you.
Who can be neutral.
Yeah, who can be neutral. And a lot of those couples can be. They've seen a ton of life.
Yeah.
And I think if you have those two relationships in where you go to for advice on those things, you're going to be in a really healthy place.
Yeah.
And you're going to be able to actually get some clarity and some answers on how to handle situations and things.
Right.
From a biblical perspective, but also a proven perspective. And that's what we miss a lot. It's like we go to the Facebook, we go to the family chat, we go to places where we're not going to get proven advice.
Right.
But one-sided silliness, and it's just going to damage things.
Yeah.
And also, complaining doesn't change anything. So people love complaining about things, but refuse to live a life of being a complainer.
Yeah.
Because all you're going to do is throw fire on the problem.
That's true.
A proverb says where there is no wood, there is no fire. And if you want to actually solve an issue, don't be a complainer.
Yeah.
Be a problem solver. Go and address the issue. Figure it out. Go get some clarity and some details.
Really, who we need to be talking to about this first
is
God,
the Lord.
The Lord.
Lord.
You need to take it in prayer and talk to the Lord, and then your spouse.
Yeah. And then if you still can't figure it out,
then you go seek godly counsel.
It's literally Matthew chapter 18, right? Matthew 18, I think it's 15 through 18, or it's 18 through 20. Literally, scripture is, hey, if you have a problem with somebody, go to them. If they don't listen,
includes your spouse.
Bring somebody with you. If they don't listen, go to this church, go to the spiritual oversight. So, if you do that, even in your marriage, it's going to be healthy. Go to the Lord, go to them.
Yep.
Go to that mature couple that's proven and godly and incredible, that can be neutral. And if you can't figure it out, go to your pastor.
Yeah.
Go figure it out. And you might need to hear some, and don't just go. This is what people do. They go to the person that will give them the answer they want, or will pacify them. No, go to the person that will give you the truth.
I just had this conversation with someone
even if it's hard. Stop being babies.
you don't go to 10 different people and find the advice you like and then take it. Like,
yeah. Or they fish for the advice they like, and then they finally get one person to give the piece of advice they wanted the whole time. And
which is probably the worst advice.
Yeah, and now it's like, well, congratulations. Yeah. You should have just done what you wanted to begin with.
Yeah.
Instead of getting someone to co-sign with you.
Yeah. Don't find a co-signer.
They both look dumb.
Yeah. But, okay, so I do want to touch, though, because I want to touch on the fact that...
So this camera's on. Don't do that. Sorry, Trey.
Cameras would make it fun, right? Anyway, Trey, no. So how would you encourage a husband that might be watching that has a very invasive mother who meddles and tries to control and have a say?
Or I would just draw the line. They have to man up and let her know the boundaries. Yeah. Boundaries are important.
Can you explain the difference? Because I know a lot of people were like, well, I respect my mom, and I know they just need my help and they don't have anyone else, because these are real scenarios.
Yeah, it's easy. Hey, Mom, I love you and I want you to love my wife. I'm not going to complain about her to you. I'm not going to share our problems with you about us, because I want you to be able to love her and add value to her life. And I have a trusted man in my life that I'm going to go to with these issues. That way, things don't get unhealthy in our family dynamic. Okay, and how would you say it then to the mom who's constantly in need of her son? I would just tell her, like, hey, Mom, I'm not available to help you with these things, but I can help you with these things. Like, you just have to be clear. Right. No, it's good, because it's there has to be. You don't, that's the thing. You want to ignore your wife or your mother. Come on. You want to remain in a healthy relationship in your marriage and with your parents. And the only way to do that is to properly communicate these things and put up those boundaries, in a respectful manner and sticking to them. And I think the same would go with, any wife on here who's extremely close with her dad. If your dad starts saying all kinds of stuff about what your husband should be doing or what he's not doing, you need to respectfully tell your dad, go talk to him. He's a great man and he does these things well, and if you really have an issue, go talk to him about it. But I'm not going to stand for you putting down my husband. Yeah. Or else we're not coming to dinner no more. I don't know. But no, you need it. There has to be clear boundaries. There has to be. Or things get weird. Yep. Boundaries are healthy. They're not bad. Boundaries are healthy. Yeah. And if you don't have clarity with them, then there are no rules. Right. You have to set rules, expectations, boundaries, just like with your spouse. But this is your marriage. You have to protect it. You have to let people in or out based upon what's going to be the healthiest thing moving forward. Not the most comfortable, the healthiest thing. Right. And I think one more point I think we should touch on is, well, how do I handle family that's not saved and wants to be involved but doesn't do things how we do things? It's the same thing with like a mom. It's just like, hey, this is my marriage and it's not like open to everybody in our life. Love you. Right. But I'm saying, I know people have a lot of, there's kind of like toxic traits, right? So it's like, well, we don't want to go to their house because they're smoking and they're doing all these things and they're cussing, and I don't want to be around that. How would you give advice to somebody who still should involve their family but doesn't have to go based on the other person's terms? Yeah, you just bring them into environments you control. Right. Right. So it's like, well, go out to dinner or have them come to your house or have something planned afterwards so you can get out of like a long event. Like, just no, that's good. Be in control of the situation. I just hear, and that why I want to touch on that is because I've heard lots, maybe you are the only couple in your family that's saved.
And before you were at your parents' house all the time, and now they're like, well, why don't you ever want to come over? Why don't you ever? I think if you initiate hanging out with them where it can be, the start time and end time in an environment where you can kind of control what happens, then I think it can still be healthy.
Yeah, or if it's like, hey, family parties are cool until 7 p.m. and then it gets a little rowdy.
It's just like know your limit.
Hey, we leave at 7. Mm-hmm. Why? Because we want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty simple. You don't have to down them.
Right.
Because we won't be around this. We won't stand for this. It's like, okay, congratulations.
Now you just tell them like, off.
Hey, because we're going to go hang out. We're going to go watch a movie. We're going to go do something. Mm-hmm. I had a great time with you guys.
If you have to actually make plans after, we don't want to be liars.
Yeah.
Go make plans.
Yeah.
100%. But it's important to set boundaries and to know that, in order to maintain great relationships with our parents still, our in-laws, it's always communication. It 100%. Always comes back to communication. That is one of the biggest, that's what connects everything in marriage is communication. So it needs to be clearly communicated and the boundaries need to be set and you just need to follow through them and you need to stick to your guns with some of these things. You can't allow yourself to be talked out of it by your parent or a sister or a brother based on their opinions. Like as a husband and wife, you set these boundaries and you stick to them. Amen.
I love it. That's easy.
Easy.
Protect it. Keep it safe.
Sacred.
It's a funny word. All right. You guys are great. Have a great day.
Guys, let's vote in the comments. He's the one who makes it awkward. Yes or no?
Whatever.
Love you. Bye.
Say it to my face.